The views, opinions, and representations expressed on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network and its website are those of the hosts, guests, and participants, and are not necessarily those of or endorsed by the network, its affiliated stations and broadcasts, the management, other hosts, or advertisers of the network. The shows found on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network can, but do not necessarily, promote any particular lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice. These shows are for entertainment purposes only, and are not intended to treat, diagnose, and or claim any cure of disease or condition, or give any medical or legal advice.
Our intro music is provided by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com.
Check out Night Dreams' website at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com.
Coming to you from some far point station, like a cosmic tumbleweed, both north and south of the Pleiades. Here's your host, Michael W. Hall, the Paranormal Lawyer.
Yes, I am. Boy, happy Saturday night, folks. Thanks for joining me. This is January 26, 2019 already. Can you believe that the first month of the new year is almost done and we're almost heading into February, and things are happening big time in the paranormal and UFO world, and I thank God that you're there listening to the show, because there are fast-breaking things happening. We are going to have some wonderful guests tonight on the show. Of course, we're going to start out the show with Peter Davenport's weekly, if at all possible, UFO sighting reports. We're going to do that tonight initially, and then we're going to have Vince Inzunza from Pacific Northward News, and he is going to come and tell us a little bit about the Squatch Fest that's happening in Washington State this weekend. And, of course, our main guest tonight is Chad Meek, and Chad has got a fantastic story about the 1950s contactee era, and his uncle, who basically George Van Tassle was the guy who started the whole contactee craze in the 1950s with meetings and basically alien contact out in the Mojave Desert at a place called Gaint-Rock. And we are going to get up to speed on all of that and how Chad fits into this whole family legacy of alien and UFO contact himself. But we're going to start off the night tonight with some very exciting, fast-breaking reports of UFO sightings from around the country, and our good old friend Peter Davenport. Hi, Peter. How are you doing?
Well, good evening, Michael. I'm doing well, and let me preface by saying I'm going to try to make my report tonight short and to the point, because I'm looking forward tremendously to what Chad has to say about van-tassle. I know the name, of course, and have known it for many decades, but I don't know the details, and I'm really looking forward to what he has to tell us on that subject. Should be very interesting.
Oh, yeah. This is something, by the way, that probably the younger ufologists don't really have a background of. You know, the 1950s, very few of them, but a contactee craze of people actually coming out. George Adamski, George Van Tassel, writing books and doing things to bring that whole idea of UFO aliens actually visiting the planet. So I'm looking forward to it as well. But I'll bet you've got some up-to-date, up-to-the-minute sometimes reports that we need to know about as well.
Yeah, in fact, up to the minute is correct this time. I just received a report from a young woman. She and I talked probably a week or 10 days ago. She called me right after a sighting of a creature very, very close to Seattle in Federal Way. You probably know where the Weyerhaeuser campus is. She was right at an intersection of I-5 and another major highway. I think it's Highway 12, if I'm not mistaken, but I may err on that point.
Yeah.
And I haven't read the report in toto yet, but she was running her dogs at about 1:30 in the morning on I think it was the 13th of January, so just 2 weeks ago. And I guess the 13th was a Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. And she alleges in her report that she ran into what she calls an alien robot on the campus of Weyerhaeuser. I can't certify this, but in the interest of breaking news, I thought I would start off with that, just to let people know that there's some very strange things happening on this planet, Michael. I can't prove it, but it's like the police blotter. The people haven't been charged. They haven't gone to court yet, but it's noteworthy news nevertheless when there are police activities. And I guess that I'm trying to create an analogy here. I'm not sure I've done a very good job of it, but
but
a lot of things going on.
You say that you actually spoke with this woman yourself?
I talked with her. Did you say? Did I speak with her?
Yeah,
yes,
that's
I
what I was
spoke
wondering.
with her.
Oh my goodness! And she sounded credible, basically.
She sounded very credible to me, and she sounded very sincere. I think you can tell a great deal about a person's voice, or about a person just by listening to the voice. You can tell sincerity in a person's voice generally, unless they're trained deceivers. But she was very serious, and she was alarmed by what she had seen. And I just received a report, not even posted to the UFO Center website yet. Just came in tonight, finally, after a couple calls since her first call to motivate her to get the report in. One of the biggest, hardest jobs I've ever had in my life, Michael, is trying to get people to write things down instead of just talk about them.
Yes.
It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but that's what you have to do when you're a UFO investigator, or I think an investigator of any variety, is try to get people to write things down.
Oh yeah. Getting that report, even if it's a police report, is the most important thing. Getting it down on paper. But did she happen to mention to you any kind of description of this alien robot and what it might look like?
I think she does in her report. Again, I haven't had time. This was just minutes before the program began tonight, so I haven't had time to really internalize and focus on this report.
Okay.
But,
well, this is fast breaking, so no problem. We will basically have to go to the net. By the way, if people want to jump on board while we're talking about these reports and or similar reports, they can go to the National UFO Reporting Center or UFOcenter.com. Is that right?
That's correct. UFOcenter.com is our website, and we just updated our website Thursday, I believe. So some of the latest reports are on that website. But I'm scanning this report from Federal Way as I speak, and she's a very good writer, which is always a plus sign for any report, is whether the person is a good writer or can express herself clearly, and she seems to. But she describes a situation. She saw a green and white and yellow light hovering above nearby trees, and it appeared to, I'm reading as I speak, which is always a mistake, but she appears to describe an object that was illuminating the ground, and she saw this creature. Yes, I'm looking at about the third paragraph into her report. She talks about the sounds that came from the robot. Apparently it was attempting to communicate with her, or allegedly.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, my goodness. You know what this sounds like, Peter? This sounds like Pascagoula, Mississippi. Those Calvin Parker and those guys being basically accosted by something that looked kind of like a robot. Three different kinds of guys that look like robots. So,
October '73.
Good for you.
That was a very good, very interesting case. I remember when it was first reported, I was enthralled by it. But anyway, yes. You mentioned recent cases, and that's about as recent as I can get. This came in just a few hours ago. So.
Wonderful. That's great. Thank you for this teaser anyway, so we'll have to keep following up on that one. What else have you got that we need to know about?
Well, I'd like to talk about some of the reports that came in during the recent lunar eclipse just 6 days ago. Sunday night, the 20th of January. The first report we have comes from gaint-rock, Ireland. I think this was a little bit before the eclipse because the witness says the sighting occurred at 9 p.m. local time in Ireland. I presume that's Greenwich Mean Time, but I'm not sure. But he was looking at the full moon, awaiting the onset of the eclipse, when he saw 4 lights streaking across the sky. They suddenly stopped, and they were maneuvering relative to one another in an erratic fashion. And then they shot off in different directions. That was at 9 p.m. on the 20th of January this year, of course, just prior to the beginning of the lunar eclipse.
Yeah.
The second report I'd like to talk about is equally interesting. Comes from Austin, Texas. A gentleman writes that he was outside looking at the clear daytime sky, blue sky down in Texas, and his attention was drawn to a very bright, reflective object in the daytime sky. And as he watched it, it suddenly accelerated, shot to the right, then to the left, and then back to the right at what he describes as breakneck speeds. And then it stopped. He ran inside to get his binoculars to get a better look at it. And by the time he got back, as it always happens, or seems to happen, the object was gone. Have no idea what it was, but I think we can rule out aircraft because of the bizarre motion or movement of the object. I think we can rule out a helium-filled mylar balloon because of the abrupt movement that the witness describes. So we're left with a question mark, as is generally the case. But if we have any listeners who are online, this would be a good week if they're interested in the UFO phenomenon. This is a very good week to go to the UFOcenter.com website. If you're inclined to read some of the recent reports, there are some really, really interesting reports, and they appear to have been submitted by people who are qualified witnesses, very sincere and forthright people, as far as I can tell.
Man. Sounds like things are really heating up here just in the last couple of weeks in the brand new year here. So, fascinating.
That is my impression, too, Michael. It appears to me that I am receiving reports that are substantially different from the reports that I was receiving even just a year or two ago. People are seeing actual craft in the night sky.
Yeah.
So I don't know what